Hello and welcome to the Dad Strength Podcast. I am your host, Richie Leahy. Today, I'm adding another item to our list, and that item is kind of a combination of other items because, well, we've talked about some of these before, but they haven't really stood on their own. So the item this week is going to be musical toys with flashing lights. Now, this item is going to be mainly for infants or very young children. I'll put it at that, very young children, because you need something that can hold their interest. So when children are born, their muscles aren't developed. That's a common practice, everyone knows that. Well, your child, because they can't move, they can only do like eye movements and try to reach for things. They're not going to be able to pick things up, play with them. This is going to be the first item. It's the first real toy for children. I don't know what else I have on the list. Maybe like rattles that can go ahead and apply here, or plastic books, things that they can kind of grip and play with. At the very youngest age, though, those toys don't cross over because they don't really stretch the development cycle. You could say pacifiers, but again, that's not a toy. That's just something that would help soothe your child. So these musical light-up toys, it's kind of like the nighttime soother, which is another item on our list. That item is something that plays music and lights up, but it's typically used in one setting. So the difference between these, because there are some that function as both, and probably one I'll have a picture of is one of the items on the list that could function as a musical light-up toy and a nighttime soother. So a nighttime soother, usually you plug into the wall, which means your kid can't play with it, so that eliminates it from this. And it projects lights or pictures on the roof. So the one we have plugs in as an owl, has a couple different sound settings. One does like ocean sound, one is a white noise machine. The other is, was it waves crashing? Or maybe that's ocean sound. I already said that. Something else. There's a bunch of different ones that it does. Oh, classical music is one of them. So that's a nighttime soother because it goes beside the crib, puts the lights on the roof, and it's stars, the one we have, and the music fits. Child will put the child at ease and let them go to bed. Well, this item on our list is something more along the lines of something that your child can play with. I have one that when our daughter was born, it was a star that we put across her stroller, and it lit up and played music if you touched it. So even though she didn't have the strength to really do anything towards it, it had a mode that whenever you touched it would turn on, which gave her a goal of trying to reach for it. I think there was also a mode that it just stayed on. So if I was going to put it on, and it didn't even have to be in her sight. So if we were taking a long car ride, obviously I'm not going to put a toy in the car seat with her, because if we were in an accident or something, it could come up and hit her in the face. But I could set it on the seat beside her, and it would light up. She would see the flashing lights, and it would calm her down, or it would get her engagement. She would be looking around trying to see where it was coming from. And that's the point of these. So the musical toys, what did I say it's called? Musical toys with flashing lights, they're on our list. It's our new item, and they are used to draw the attention of your child. That's what they're used for, and they're very important at the young age. They also have some, I think the hot toy, and this might be dated, depending on when you listen to this, if you're finding this years later. There's a toy out that when my daughter was born that everyone had. It's called Beat Bow. Same premise. It's a musical light-up toy. It flashes lights and it dances. Well, it's something that she really enjoyed, and they also have a travel version that's the same idea as the star I described. It has like a little strap. You strap it into the car seat or whatever, and it's plush, so it sits on her lap and it just lights up. And then she can touch it to turn it on, or I don't know if there's a setting on the Beat Bow one that will leave it on. But these are toys that are very important, and you might only need one of these, and you definitely need one if you're going to be traveling. Just like I said, it doesn't have to be in the seat with them. Just throw it on. They also make mirror ones, but I like ones that they can touch. Like the Beepo, the plush Beepo is perfect. She can hold it. I think there's a strap on it. My grandmother got her like a doll that's similar, that it lights up and plays music, but you have to like stretch it out. So that was another toy that we could put on her stroller and she could reach for and pull, and it would help develop muscles, kind of like doing bicep curls to try to get this down. So there are a bunch of different ones. They come in all shapes and sizes. You can find ones in your favorite movie, characters, or whatever. And it's something that I recommend getting because when your child's first born, like I said, they can't do a lot. So these toys help bridge that gap. Now, whether you think it's more important than other items on our list, that's up for you to decide. We have some that are more along the lines of stretching out different developmental cycles, like rattles. Rattles might be used for a shorter time period, but they're very important to get your child to use all the muscles in their arm and help develop them. So even though it's used for a shorter period of time, you could argue that it's more important than, say, the musical light-up toy, which the musical light-up toy they might use for 12 weeks, 12 to 36 weeks or something, and even maybe a year, while the rattles are only good for a month or two. And so that's what you're going to decide. Again, go to ranker.com, search Dad Strength. The list will come up. As I'm winding down our list, I think we have 4 more items after this one posts. We can go ahead and finalize the voting. We'll leave it up for another month or two. And that's whenever we will have all the show notes and everything come together on a site. So however you found this, you'll be able to. I know I talked about it. I think what I'm going to do is whenever the show is completed with the Dad Strength list, I'm going to add an introduction to the show on the podcast feed for first-time subscribers. So that's kind of like a start here so that I can kind of explain how the show has changed over time so people can kind of skip around. There's no real order to these or how you listen. But again, we're winding down our list here. This week's item was musical toys with flashing lights. And music is something that if you're a parent, you're not musical, you might want your child to develop. Classical music is something that you can play. We had these tapes that you played in the womb that was done by a study, I think at Penn State University, that did heartbeat sounds. So you played it in the womb to help soothe your child. And I would say that musically, rhythmically, I guess is the word I'm looking for, it definitely paid off. Now, whether it helped their intelligence, I don't know. It is said to. She does pick up things very quickly. Not as verbal yet, but we are doing the multiple languages. So she has been exposed to multiple languages. She might just not be able to separate them because she can count in one language, talk in another, say things she answers in other languages. So she definitely understands them. She's just not as verbal. Her physical skills are way ahead of schedule. I think I talked about it when I did the developmental chart. But that's something that I'm just looking into, and you might want to look into yourselves. Play some music, and it's set to benefit your child. Now, whether you want them to play it during sleep, I know I have some friends that you need the TV to sleep with in the middle of the night. To me, I find that distracting, and I wouldn't want my child to have a crutch like that. But the white noise machine instead of classical music, I mean, we're getting into nighttime soothing talk here again. But for musical light-up toys, you definitely want to expose them to as much. My theory is expose them to as much different cultures as possible so that they will be well-rounded. Don't just play your favorite music, pop music, in the car. Sit through and play some different things. Listen to some foreign radio. Watch a show in a different language, just so that your child can experience it, because they might pick up some of the sounds and it might expand their vocabulary or at least their development. Because there are studies now where if you introduce languages or let your child hear different languages, they can reproduce the sound, but you have to do it at a certain point. That's why you hear people that have different accents for languages that they learn second they can't produce all the same sounds. So even feel free to get a musical light up toy that does different languages. We have 2 or 3 of them that do 2 or 3 different languages. One of them was like a keyboard that played music and lit up, and it was a great tool for her. And it also spoke 3 different languages: English, Spanish, and French. So highly recommend this item. Again, you can follow me on Twitter, Richie Leahy. Follow me or like my Facebook page. If you search Richie Leahy, it should come up. And please subscribe to the show. Tell your friends. And go to ranker.com, search Dad Strength, and vote for items on our list. So thanks for listening, and I'll see you next week.